Do you know what the strangest thing about being 92 years old is? It's not the aching knees. It's not forgetting where I left my glasses. It's not even watching most of the people I grew up with slowly disappear from this world. The strangest thing is realizing that after almost a century of living, nothing that shocks young people today actually surprises me anymore. When I hear the name Jeffrey Epstein on the news, I see people my grandchildren's age reacting like the sky just fell. They're angry, confused, obsessed, whispering about secrets, cover-ups, conspiracies, powerful men in dark rooms pulling strings. And I just sit there quietly. Because at my age, this isn't shocking. It's disappointing, but it's not shocking. I've seen this movie before. Different actors, different decade, same story. Power, money, silence. That's it. Not demons, not masterminds, just human beings with too much power and too few consequences. When I was 20 years old, I believed the world was fair. I really did. I believed that if you hurt people, you paid for it. If you broke the law, you went to jail. If you were rich, you had more responsibility, not less. And if the truth came out, justice followed automatically. That's what we were taught. Turns out, that was a bedtime story. Justice doesn't happen by default. It has to be built, protected, maintained. And when people stop paying attention, it rots. What happened with Epstein isn't the story of one evil monster hiding in the dark. That explanation is too convenient, too comfortable. Because if it's just one monster, then the rest of us can relax and say, well, that's rare. No, this is what happens when a system lets someone become untouchable. Untouchable people don't stay good for long. Nobody does. Not you, not me, not anyone. Give any human being enough money, enough protection, enough people saying yes to everything, and sooner or later they start believing the rules don't apply to them. History proves it every single time. And I've lived long enough to see that pattern repeat over and over. I saw it with corrupt politicians in the 60s. I saw it with corporations lying to the public in the 70s. I saw it with bankers gambling away families' savings in the 80s and 90s. I saw it during wars started on half-truths and hidden motives. And now people act surprised. Why? This is what power does when nobody watches it. Young people today talk a lot about conspiracies. They imagine secret rooms and brilliant villains planning everything like chess masters. Let me tell you something after 92 years of watching humanity up close. Reality is rarely that sophisticated. It's usually much simpler. Greed, ego, fear of losing status. That explains more disasters than any conspiracy ever could. Most powerful people aren't criminal geniuses. They're just ordinary, selfish people who never hear the word no. And that's far more dangerous, because it means the problem isn't special evil. It's normal human weakness combined with unlimited privilege. If the system allows someone to rise above the law, abuse is not a possibility. It's an inevitability. That's something you learn with age. Not maybe, not sometimes, always. Every empire that fell, every scandal, Every collapse I've witnessed had the same root cause: too much power, not enough accountability. So when I hear people obsess over one name, one face, one villain, I shake my head. You're looking at the wrong target. The man is not the real story. The structure that protected him is. Ask better questions. How did nobody stop him for so long? Who benefited from staying quiet? Why does money buy respect automatically? Why do we treat wealth like a moral achievement? When I was a boy, we had something you don't see much anymore: community. If someone behaved strangely, everyone knew. If someone crossed a line, the neighborhood reacted. There were social consequences. Today, power hides behind gates, lawyers, private islands, private jets, layers of protection so thick you never even get close. They don't live in the same world as the rest of us. And when you don't live among normal people, you stop thinking like one. Isolation breeds arrogance. Arrogance breeds abuse. It's not complicated. But here's the part people don't like hearing. We helped create this. Yes, we did. Because we worship the rich. We idolize celebrities. We confuse success with virtue. If someone has money, we assume they're smart. If someone is famous, we assume they matter. We put them on pedestals and then act shocked when they fall. Stop putting humans on pedestals and you'll stop being disappointed. My father used to tell me something when I was a kid. He said, "Never trust a man that nobody is allowed to question." I didn't understand it back then. Now I do. If no one can challenge you, you will eventually become dangerous. Not because you're evil, because you're human. Humans without limits always drift towards selfishness. Every single time. That's why justice cannot depend on good intentions. It must depend on strong rules, strong institutions, transparency, journalists who aren't afraid, citizens who pay attention, not hope. Design. Hope is fragile. Systems are durable. That's the difference between fantasy and democracy. Sometimes my grandchildren ask me, "Grandpa, is the world worse now?" And I always tell them the same thing. No, the world isn't worse. It's just more visible. Before, these things were buried, hidden, forgotten. Now information spreads instantly. Now we know. And knowing hurts. But it's better than ignorance. Truth is painful before it's healing. What worries me isn't that these scandals exist. What worries me is how quickly people turn them into entertainment, gossip, drama, something to scroll past. When injustice becomes entertainment, we stop taking it seriously. And when we stop taking it seriously, nothing changes. Outrage is loud but short. Real change is quiet and slow. It comes from voting, from asking questions, from demanding accountability, from refusing to idolize anyone, from thinking critically. It's boring work, but it's the only work that actually fixes anything. If I were 20 again, I wouldn't waste my energy arguing endless theories online. I'd learn how institutions work. I'd support investigative journalism. I'd participate locally. Because that's where power is actually shaped, not in comment sections, in action. After 92 years, I don't look for perfect heroes or perfect villains anymore. That's childish thinking. I look for flawed systems that can be improved. That's adult thinking. The world doesn't change because we point fingers. It changes because we build better rules, brick by brick, law by law. And listen, I'm not talking to you as a spectator. I'm talking to you as someone who's going to live with the consequences long after I'm gone. Don't treat stories like this as gossip. Treat them as warnings, signals, lessons written in real life. Because if you don't watch power, power will never watch itself. Never. History has never worked that way. The only reason we have any rights today is because ordinary people demanded them, not because powerful people felt generous. I've seen the worst of humanity, but I've also seen something beautiful. I've seen regular people come together and force change that everyone said was impossible. I've seen laws rewritten, corruption exposed, systems reformed. It happens, but only when people stay awake. So yes, I'm disappointed when I hear these names, but I'm not hopeless, because the story isn't finished. It never is. Every generation gets another chance to build something better than what we left them. Now it's your turn. So let me ask you something, not as an old man, not as a lecture, but as a citizen talking to another citizen. What kind of world do you want to leave behind? One where money buys silence, or one where nobody stands above the law? I really want to know. Tell me what you think. Tell me where you stand. Have the courage to speak. And if you value conversations like this, slow, honest, thoughtful conversations from someone who's watched almost a century of history repeat itself, then stay, subscribe, come back, because I may be 92, but I still have a few truths left to tell. And at my age, time is the one thing I don't have much of.